All right, welcome to another episode of the Christian Coach Podcast. I'm excited to introduce our guest, Mr. Coach Len Visser. How are you, Coach?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing awesome. Thanks so much for taking the time to be with us. And those who listen to our podcast, we always like to ask our guests our power question. So, Coach Visser, what does it mean to you to be a Christian coach?
That's a great question. The first thing that actually comes to my mind is something that actually Chaplain Steve Ross used to say here at this school, and he's since passed away. But it was also we were always reminded of it by our headmaster, Dr. Tenney's, and that is it's an opportunity to touch lives that will last a lifetime. That's the first thing I think about, and so obviously the other amazing thing, it's an opportunity to pour into the lives of the girls. And I try to do that through devotions, prayer, and just life on life moments. That's very important. We do our devotions, for example, and I'm actually using a book right now. I actually happen to have it here. It's called Winners Win. It was somebody that came to our school, and her name was Tanika Rubin. And I was like, wow, this is going to be life on life, because this is a female basketball player, and how can I utilize that with my girls? And we have just been having some amazing devotions, and I'm going to be honest with you, the devotions are way more important to me than the actual volleyball game. And the girls are starting to realize that, but I will say it's even more and more now than when I first started coaching. So very interesting. And then, of course, the importance of prayer and us all doing it together. We take turns praying. I remember one of my assistant coaches, who was originally one of my volleyball players from way back in 2006. She said to me, "Coach, I don't know if you realize this, but when you asked me to pray in front of all the girls, that was the first time I ever prayed in front of my peers."
Wow.
I was like, wow. She goes, "It was the most nerve-wracking thing ever." And I was like, wow, praise God that you were able to do that. And she goes, "Yes, thank you so much for that." And I was able to build a relationship with her later on as one of my assistant coaches, which was really cool how God did that. And then just the life on life things. And I knew this was coming up, and something happened to me the other day. And I was like, I have to share this. It was just so amazing. So one of the key things that on our program is we want to teach integrity and character. Right? We had a girl named Michelle Taylor, and she was amazing at this, and she was a true leader. She's now actually going and playing volleyball in college right now, and her dream is actually to come back and be a coach, and maybe that might happen. She might take over my role, but that would be awesome, because she has the same heart as I do about for many things. But she left a legacy, and so I have this girl who's in 8th grade, happens to be in 8th grade, coming from a different school, coming from a club program where she came in and she came in late. She had to fight for her position. She wasn't given the position maybe that she feels she should have got, but she got another position that bumped other girls out. And it was the whole mean girl thing and drama and such. And, she's learning to put up a wall. And so I was like, because I'm sensing it. So we start with devotions at the beginning of the year, and she's just kind of like all over. And this is why we're doing this. I don't get this. She doesn't understand our culture yet. So she's learning it, and she's learning it. And I said to her, I said, "So what do you think now about the idea of integrity and character, what we keep talking about?" She goes, "Well, it's tough, coach." And I go, "Well, why do you say that?" And she goes, "Well, because I've never been told that. I've always been told to try to get the point the best that you can. And if the ref calls it, the ref calls it, even if you touched it, or if it was in or out or whatever, it's the ref's call." And I go, "Well, that's true. It is the ref's authority. It is the ref's authority. But basically, if you know something that you can be a light and shine for the people in the stands, for whoever it might be, that's how we can shine for Christ." And so they said, "Coach, you're not going to believe this." I go, "What?" I go, "Well," she goes, "You know how you decided to put somebody else in the middle position and you put me back to the outside position? That person, I should put on do not disturb. That person came up to me and said, 'I really hope you do well in this position. These are some things you want to really focus on.'" she was flabbergasted.
Yeah.
In fact, tears were coming in her eyes. I don't know how to put this one.
Hmm.
Tears were coming through her eyes. And basically, she was just didn't know how to react to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was the most amazing moment. And then this smile comes over her face.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, there it is.
Yeah. So is that breakthrough moment almost,
It
huh?
was a breakthrough moment, and it's
Yeah.
so amazing. And so, just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's
just a God
obvious.
moment, a life on life moment.
Yeah, it's obvious here in some of your stories as you just kind of get started here. You're teaching life, you're using volleyball. That's your platform, but we're ultimately teaching life. And we have a lot of coaches that may coach different sports and their platform's basketball or football, soccer, but we're ultimately coaching life. So I love that about the opportunity to touch lives. That is so good. Well,
Yeah.
take us back, Coach Visser. Growing up, man, where'd you grow up? What was it like? Home life, siblings, things like that.
Oh, yeah. So it was awesome. I grew up and I have no problems with it. Sometimes you hear people, oh, I wish, the high school wasn't, I didn't like high school or I didn't like
Mm,
middle school. I loved every moment of it.
yeah.
My family was super close. I have two sisters and a brother.
Mm.
We grew up in Canada. And
Hey.
yeah, yeah. Started in actually in Ontario where I was born, moved to Manitoba, each of them for 7 years, and they moved over to Alberta. And in Alberta is when I had the opportunity to actually learn about the game of volleyball.
Mm,
And but it was watching my sister who was a volleyball player. That's where it all
gotcha.
kind of started. And so just that our family is so tight and so close that I just had an amazing experience. And,
Yeah.
I ended up here. It's a long story how I ended up here, but ultimately my family came and moved to Florida and I was still in Canada. And I ended up years later coming here and getting an opportunity to coach at Boca Christian basketball my
Oh,
first
nice.
year.
Nice.
Varsity basketball, which I did coach in Canada for 10 years, by the way, and did the club thing and all that fun stuff with volleyball. But I did coach basketball and many other sports. And so they gave me the opportunity just to kind of get my foot in the door here.
Mhm.
And then the next year I was hired on to Boca Christian and I've been the varsity volleyball coach ever since for the last 20 years.
Nice. What sports did you play in high school or middle school?
Oh, middle school, high school, of course, it was hockey in the winter
Yeah, I was
time.
gonna say hockey in Canada.
All day long. I actually used to be a goaltender, played with some guys that ended up going into the NHL, and that's a whole nother
Nice.
story. I had opportunities. When I was 14, they said, you're going to go to the NHL, man. And so I was like, wow, well, something happened. And that didn't happen. But you know what? Praise God, it didn't, because I'm
Yeah,
so
God
thankful I
always
didn't
has a
go
bigger
down that.
plan, bigger
Yeah, that's
plan.
a difficult situation. But yeah, so I played, and then I was a soccer guy
Okay.
in the summertime. Those were kind of my two keys. But then in school, I played basketball, volleyball, ran track and field, ran cross country, played badminton, did all the sports.
Yeah.
Sports was the reason for me to go to school.
Yeah. I can relate to that big time.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. Tell me about maybe some similarities or differences between, whether it be playing or growing up or even coaching in Canada and then in the United States, maybe specifically Florida. Any similarities or even, opposite things that you experience?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess pretty similar. I mean, it was about going to provincials versus going to states was
Mm,
always the goal. It
okay.
was one thing I did do for coaching for 10 years and never got paid. That was more of a volunteer thing in
Mm,
Canada
gotcha.
versus here. So I volunteered my first year at Boca Christian. Then I found out coaches actually got paid, but
Ah.
that's a whole nother story. I'm not doing
Those
it for the
huge
pay.
stipends at the Christian
Yeah, yeah, the
schools, right?
huge
Huge
stipend.
stipends.
But it was volleyball in Canada was becoming big. I started up a club in Canada with a couple
Okay.
other people, and I ran that for a while. But I'll be honest with you, when I came here and moved here, I was like, oh, I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Be able to have my time. I coach against a guy by the name of Dean Barboza, an amazing
Hmm.
mentor for me, runs the Tribe organization. And he got a hold of somebody, said, there's a guy at Boca Christian that we need to
Hmm.
get onto our team. And so next thing I know, I'm coaching club volleyball, and from there I'm helping a program start at Tribe. One of the first coaches, praise God, this year I loved the program. I loved everything about it, but I was able to retire from it.
Mm.
And God gave me this feeling of, yeah, it is time for that, but
Okay.
it's still not time yet at Boca Christian.
Gotcha.
You're still there, and there's a reason that you're still doing that. And I ultimately look at that as a time that I'm going to be able to touch the lives of these girls. And the awesome thing about being in a club, which was not a Christian club, but it was an owner that was a Christian and a lot of
Mm.
Christian coaches, was that I could teach them character and integrity without mentioning Christ,
Right.
because you get yourself in trouble.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I did it sometimes anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
and didn't care.
Yep. Yep.
I prayed
Well,
with my girls when somebody got hurt, or
yeah.
if somebody was driving and I remember somebody getting in an accident. I said, ladies, this is what I'm going to do. You choose what you want
Yep.
to do right now.
Yep.
Meditate, don't listen,
Yep.
pray. Whoever you pray to, go for it.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know the wisdom of the atmosphere that you're in, because I'm
Yes.
now transitioning into a role where we use the word character coach instead of a chaplain, and character moments instead of a
Yes.
devotion. So we know ultimately what we're trying to share. So
Very
that's
similar.
good.
Yes. Yes.
Again, we're on the Christian Coach podcast with Coach Len Visser. He is currently the women's varsity volleyball coach at Boca Raton Christian. And I know you guys are in mid-season right now. So
Yes.
just give us a little update about where you're at, the team that you have right now, maybe some highs, some lows, some challenges, the roster, whatever you want to share with us.
Wow. So this is an amazing season. And I'm going to say one word that sums it up: special.
Mm.
In all my 20 years here, I've had some amazing teams, some great teams, some great players, and every year the really great players leave, and you wonder how are you going to get any
Yeah.
better, or what's going to happen, and God just continues to just bring people in, and so this team is a special team. It's a difficult team to coach in a sense, because it's really the first time that I have girls that are sitting on the bench that deserve to be on the court as much as the girls are on the court. So it's really been a trying to understand how to bring it all together to have the perfect lineup.
Mm.
And I will tell you, I have gone through, in the 15 games that we played, roughly, maybe 16 games, I have gone through 8 different lineups, different types of playing a 5-1 or a 6-2 or a 5-2. I've gone through many, many different things because I have so many options. And what I'm trying to do is find the perfect storm kind of offense and defense that's going to allow us to move forward to states, because ultimately that has been one of our goals, to go to states.
Yeah.
But by doing that, by honoring and glorifying God, which is what you'll see on the back of every one of my shirts, my program shirts, 1 Corinthians 10:31, whatever you do, do it all for the honor of, and glory of God. And that's my life verse as well. And that's how I coach, and that's how I live and lead, and in all things. But with that being said, we're doing great. We do have 3 losses, but the great thing about having losses is you learn from your mistakes. I always say a bad loss or a good loss is better than a bad win, because you're learning some things. And those 3 losses that we have, those teams deserved it. They played better than us, but it helped me realize lineups and where to go and what. And just the other day, 2 days ago, with that whole conversation happening, we've changed our lineup again. And so we'll see tonight at 6 o'clock what happens there.
Yeah. Well, I've been to a few of your games. I know you got a competitive group. I know you got a young group, and they are special. I agree with that word and enjoy watching them. So I wish you guys the best as you go through the season. Let's transition. You mentioned this, and I know Dean Barboza and maybe some other mentors you had growing up. You can go back to high school, college, and then maybe even now in the coaching profession, if you want to list 2 or 3 mentors and maybe what they taught you.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm the kind of guy that wears my heart on my sleeve, so hopefully I don't have tears coming down on this. But I would say first and foremost, my first mentor was always my dad. He taught me so much growing up. I remember one time when I decided to quit cross country, and he said, "Excuse me." I came home. He said, "You said that you did what?" He basically took me by the ear, brought me back to the coach, and said, "Len wants to try out again. if you will allow it, for cross country. I'm like, yes, Dad. I ended up having to run against my best friend who was way faster than me. And he kind of let me win. He did let me win. And I was happy. Why didn't I want to do it? I was a kid. I didn't want to wake
Yeah.
up so early in the morning for
Yeah.
cross country. So definitely my dad, and I could just, the work ethic that he's put into me, and my brother, I mean, and my whole family. You know, of course my mom as well, but you know, dads have a special thing when it comes to teaching you work ethic, and it even leads into my who I am as an administrator here at Boca Christian,
Mhm.
who I am as a dad, who I am as a husband. And you don't realize it until you start thinking about it. I'm like, oh my goodness, it was my
Yeah.
dad. The second person would be my younger brother, Tim.
Mm.
We have such an amazing relationship. Um, you know, growing up, he was always there for me. I was always there for him. He hung out with me. I hung out with him.
Yeah.
There was a moment or a time when we didn't, but now coming back, we can talk about anything with each other. That's a super solid relationship. We're the best of friends, and so he is huge.
Mhm.
And then, of course, I've had. Uh, I try to think of coaches. To be honest with you, it's kind of sad, but I can't point out a
Mm.
coach that would be that one coach. But I would say I've had some great mentors as a teacher and a leader, from Dr. Tenney's, who was our late headmaster, to
Mhm.
our current head of school, Mrs. Stapleton, to some really good friends. I mean, even the goods giving me like,
Mm.
I mean, I look at a lot of people affecting my life, so it's hard to pinpoint it.
Yeah.
But you know, and then I have some spiritual. Pastor Mitchell has been mentoring me lately, our pastor here at the church, which is
Mm.
amazing. So, and a couple of other people. You know, it's just everyone puts a little bit in, and it just
Yeah.
it's at the right time. It's at
Yeah.
the right time when it all happens. And then I would even, this is a wild one. My mentors are sometimes my parents,
Mm.
because those tough conversations that you
Yeah.
have with them, learning is happening. And if you
Yeah.
look at it as a grumpy person that was like, you know what, just keep your thoughts to yourself, I always take it and listen
Yeah.
and think about it and go over it. And then if it's right to make a move or not to make a move, I just lead that way. I like to collaborate. That's just
Yeah.
the kind of guy I am. And I do have to give a shout out to my two assistant coaches, who are wonderful. And I would say this: if you ever want to be a great coach, have somebody better beside you.
Mm. That's
Right
good.
now, I have Mark Del Bosque, and that kid, he's a kid still. He's 25, so I call him a kid.
Mhm.
But he knows the game of volleyball. He sees
Mm.
the game of volleyball. He understands the game of volleyball. He played for me, and he was my court coach. And now he coaches alongside of me, and I look up to him,
Yeah, that's cool.
because you're never, if you ever think you're there, you're never there. And
Right.
then I have this wonderful, amazing assistant coach, Karis Hage, who comes along me and fills in the gap of being the mom on the team, to
Mm.
doing stats, but to build those relationships more so than I can with the girls, to help me build the relationships. So
Yeah.
it's just a really awesome team.
And that's cool because I think sometimes as a younger coach, we get intimidated of maybe who we want on our staff, to think that, our girls or our players might like them better, or they think they're smarter. And then as we get older, we realize we want these people on our staff.
That is so true. And I could say that back in the day, yeah, the pride
Yeah,
gets in the way, and
it
it's like,
does.
okay, I know a lot more about her, so
Right.
that's okay. She could be my assistant.
Well,
Oh my, at Tribe, why do they keep giving me such good assistant coaches?
yeah,
You know what though? I learned that it was to grow me as a
yeah.
coach and to
Iron
help our
sharpens iron, right? Iron sharpens iron.
iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You mentioned, coach, the word culture, and
Yeah.
I've had a front row seat for about 20 years. We were at, I'd say rival schools, but in volleyball, you usually got the better of us, but I got to watch you from the other side. And then the past 3 years, have that front row seat. So the culture of women's volleyball at Boca is an amazing culture. So I compliment you on that. I've seen it, I felt it, I've touched it. As you think about that culture, you mentioned these younger coaches. And so talk a little bit about the program of Boca Christian, maybe from the ground up to summer camps to gold medal square. I'm talking some things that are coming to my mind, that
Absolutely.
overall culture of the
Yeah.
program.
It's been a process. And I think the first place to start would be, again, back with Dr. Tenney's, when he sat me down my first year of coaching volleyball here, and he opened up a book, and it was the FHSAA finals book that the program. And he said, look at this coach. And I looked, and it was a coach that we play against. And he goes, look at how many years she's been there. And at that point, I remember it was 20 years she was at that school.
Wow.
Look at how many times she's been to states or what she's done. It's not just going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
So I walked into his office and I said, give me 5 years and I will have this team at states. There's the old prideful, not so humble coach, just starting out here at Boca Christian, not really understanding what the culture was going to be. But I had a group of girls that I would say were coal when I first started, when they started as pieces of coal. And by the time they were juniors and seniors, because I got them all a core group of 8th graders with some couple of 2 or 3 high school students. That's what our team was.
Yeah.
Because volleyball was volleyball here, but it needed to be stepped up to the next level, right? And so, of course, I could do that. I'm coming in, right? But anyway, they did go from coal to diamonds. Not just in volleyball, though. I learned a lot over those 5 years, even though, and you know, the moment that I will never forget is 2006 when we beat, I'll say the team, Calvary of Fort Lauderdale, Calvary Chapel, Fort Lauderdale to Calvary Christian. That moment was probably one of the proudest moments. But I think about a lot of proud moments, but that was a proud moment. But and then I reflect on that. It was all about volleyball. Then I reflected on, but how have you impacted the girls?
Yeah.
And from that moment moving forward is when I decided it was time to bring in more integrity and more character. Now, don't get me wrong. We used to still do devotions. And one of the things I remember this, we used to go out on a tournament and I would sit them down before we would go to our Disney trip or whatever. We would always have church before. And I talked to them about the way they wore their clothes and how they show themselves and the type of clothing they choose and different things like that. And it was the beginning of the culture that started. And then God just used it in an amazing way. And now you will hear it out of the mouths of our girls, integrity and character. That's what we're about. And we all, like, again, have on the program shirt, which program means from 6th grade all the way through a senior, the verse is on the back. Whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. And I could turn my screen right now. It's on my wall.
Yeah.
Whatever you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. 1 Corinthians 10, where it's who I am, it's what I do. And excellence is important. But through that, character and integrity. So there's a team that you started, you're in 5 years. It's like, oh my goodness, you did what you said you were going to do. Right. Started coaching in 2004, went to states 2006. Well, then there were some bumps along the way. And maybe a little pride gets in the way. Yes, I got them to states. So I really had to learn some things. And I've committed to staying and not doing any kind of recruiting ever. I try to teach people about that. You cannot recruit. God is going to bring the right people at the right time. Yeah. Well, this year, God has brought the right people at the right time. And things are looking great. If we don't get the states, the season was still amazing and worthwhile because of the lives that were changed. And these girls are drawing closer and nearer to God. Yeah. So it's already a bonus. It's already a perfect season. Right. The bonus would be going to states.
There's the icing then.
It's the icing on the cake. Yeah. And so throughout all of it, yes, we've done, I started through Tribe, all of a sudden prior to Tribe, Gold Medal Squared came up through another club and I started doing it. And every summer we have 2 coaches, we fly them in from all over the nation. And where different places they're coming from that have experience. I could easily coach it, but to let them come in and do it and get different eyes on my girls has always helped us. It puts us ahead like a month. Yeah. If there's any teams that we play against, just don't do it. But anyway, but ultimately,
still the secret sauce, baby.
And I'm going to be honest with you, many schools are doing it now. Yeah. And it's not just because Boca Christian did it, because other schools were doing it. But I think Tribe brought it to the next level.
Yeah.
And along that, so my girls go to Tribe, excellent. They go to another club, excellent. I just want them to have fun and play
Right.
volleyball. And they know that. It's not about, if you're not having fun, don't come out here, because what are you doing here if you're not having fun? And so that's my other side of my personality. I have a lot of fun with the girls, a lot of laughs and a lot of giggles, and sometimes some serious times,
Right. Right.
So,
There's a
but
balance. Of
there's
course.
a balance for
Yep.
that. And so I'm having so much fun, so I'm not ready to give it up.
That's good. That's good. Again, with Coach Len Visser at Boca Raton Christian, I'm going to show you, Coach, a picture on my phone.
Okay.
You talked about a proud moment on the court. I was part of this, and it actually popped up on my Facebook memories. So I'm just going to let you see the picture, and then you kind of describe the emotion and what happened to our viewers. Some are audio and some will see the picture. So you ready?
All right. Oh.
All right. Tell me all about it.
Yeah.
I know what
That
this
looks
is.
like a school that was always our nemesis, right? That was that day. Oh my goodness. There's so many pictures in my head.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna put the one where my niece was coming in and as her final year senior coming and hugging me, but having you hugging me, that was definitely a proud moment. And as you think about proud moments, there are so many of them. And so I was like, if I had to think of a proudest moment, where would it be? And that one is definitely in the top 3. I don't know if it's number 1.
Yeah.
In fact, number 1 might be the first time one of my players called a touch on herself. Because that was amazing.
Integrity. There's your integrity.
Integrity. Yes. Wow. And that legacy that was left behind by her. But definitely a proud moment. It was.
Well, on that team, you had your niece. She was a senior.
Yes.
This was a school that in the area that
has always been our nemesis.
They've been our nemesis, and you had
they've always been the team
win.
that kept us from going to states, and a really strong coach there, and a really great program. And I gotta say that was the program that my headmaster pointed out 20 years prior. So he knew. She's still there, which is crazy, unbelievable. All respect to her for what she's done at that program. And I don't know if I'll be around for 40 years of a program. This is number 20, but we'll see what happens. But at the same time, it was a proud moment. It was very emotional for me because of my niece as well, being a senior, also knowing that she wasn't going to go on and play volleyball when she was in 7th grade all the way through until she had her knee injury. She was going to college to play volleyball. So we had to go through that. So that was emotional part of it. For her, I was just excited for her. I was excited for all these girls. Some of them understood. Some of them didn't really understand. The seniors understood. The Michelle Taylor, the Faith Morris, they understood. But we had some new seniors that may not have had as much as understanding, or the young girls that may not have. I mean, this year I have 6 middle school girls on my team. So the future looks bright.
That's
good.
That's good. Well, I knew that was an emotional night. I knew it was a big win. I remember seeing your face. I remember hugging you. I remember seeing the girls. And man, we got some nice press on that. So that was
we did. We did. In fact, it was the picture of the year in the paper.
That's right.
Wow.
All right, we're getting ready to close up shop, Coach. Appreciate you taking the time. I'm gonna do something fun here. It's called my Rapid 10. Rapid 10. So I give you a minute on the stopwatch, and you just say the first thing that comes to your mind. All right. So this puts the pressure on. So whatever comes to your mind, it's sometimes your favorite and stuff. So let's have some fun. Rapid fire. You got 1 minute. You ready?
Okay.
All right, here we go. Favorite restaurant.
Ooh, McDonald's.
McDonald's. Nice. Favorite ice cream flavor.
What's that? Sorry.
Favorite ice cream flavor.
Vanilla.
Favorite sport to play.
Hockey.
Ooh, nice. Favorite sport to watch.
Hockey.
All right. Dog or cat?
Dog.
Sports car or truck?
Truck.
All right. Beach house or cabin in the woods?
Cabin in the woods.
Okay. Favorite Bible verse? I think we already caught this, but 1
Corinthians 10:31.
All right. Favorite Bible character?
Joshua.
Nice. And last but not least, what would be one word to describe you?
Goofy.
Goofy. I love it. Hey, I'll add leader. Man,
Thank you.
you're a good leader, and I've watched you, and I've watched you grow as a leader too. And
Thank
so, especially the last couple of years, I know God's working in your life and
Mm,
on your heart. As we always close, Coach, we close in prayer. So I'll ask you specifically: is there anything specifically that I could pray for you or your family?
oh boy. Continue, my parents, they're getting up in age, and that's all good. And just
Okay.
that the God would continue to watch over them. He's been such a blessing to them in their lives, and
Okay.
it's great to have them part of growing. I am a grandfather now, so I would want to lift
Nice.
up my little grandson Benjamin for
Okay.
sure, and then just lift up this season. That we would continue to honor and glorify God on the court through
Awesome.
character and integrity for sure. You know, and then just that Boca Christian as a school would continue to just honor the Lord
Mm,
as well and continue to grow. We have an amazing head of school here, and
mm.
she's just such a great leader. And so just even lifting her up, which is a whole nother story, what she's been through. So just continue to lift her up, Wendy
Awesome.
Stapleton. Yeah,
All right, let's do this. Let's close in prayer.
awesome.
God, thanks for an incredible conversation. We thank you for Coach Visser taking the time to share, and thank you for the impact he's having on Boca Christian and the volleyball program and his girls. Continue to watch over them as they wind down this season, as they strive to play with integrity. They strive to be a program of excellence. And as his life verse, as they want to honor and glorify you. We also just pray for his parents, as he mentioned, them getting up there in age, and how we all will eventually have to go through that stage of life. So we lift up his parents. We thank you
Mm,
for his family. Pray for his grandson Benjamin, as he mentioned that, and the excitement of being a new grandpa. Pray for also just the school in general. Pray for the leadership. Pray for the
mhm,
head of school, Wendy Stapleton, and just decisions and choices she needs to make. Thank you for this incredible time that we can connect and we could just learn from each other. We ask this all in your name. Amen.
Amen. And I'm not sure about McDonald's.
Yeah.
It's just the first thing that came to my mind.